As is often the case with my previous albums, the idea for the album came about quite a long time ago. So it was, I think, about 3 years ago that Dartington Festival asked Joe and me to come up with a programme to do with Earth, because that was their theme for the year. And I was sitting there thinking about songs that are to do with Earth. And then I realised that the thing I wanted to sing about was Earth and heaven and the journey from one to the next. I think this is probably because I'd just lost my dad about 6 months before. So that was the world I was living in then, was very much a world of grieving and thinking about what happens when you die. Obviously I was grieving, but I was also really fascinated by the ideas that have gone out through the ages of what happens after death, because we were very present at my dad's death. And we talked about it with him a lot in the lead up to it as well. He was very open about the death he wanted to, well, he was very open about the end of his life, and he wanted it. He wasn't like fearing it too much, which I thought was really amazing. And I think that if we all talked about it more in the way we talk about other things in life, like birth, marriage, love, hate, all the big, strong emotions that we humans feel, we don't talk about death that much because we're so afraid of it. And the fascinating thing about songs and poetry that tend to come from a time gone by is that it was so present for them then. Death was a really normal thing. People died much earlier. People died in their hundreds and thousands, a lot more than they do now. Medicine now, and we have long lives. And so I think, therefore, we fear it much more. So the way my dad dealt with his death, I found really sort of inspiring, because I thought, that's how I want to go eventually. And I wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to think about it a lot, and so I did. And so when I was asked to come up with this programme, that was the direction I went in. And once I had the idea in my head, I realised that I had loads of songs that I'd sung throughout the years that I felt worked very well in that context. And you'll see on the album, it's not all songs of mourning and grief. They're songs of total joy at being released from a long life, a painful life, a life full of sorrow and torture, but also a life that has just come to an end in a very natural way. I hope that the album is not a sad thing to listen to, but there are songs on there that it's okay to cry to. And even, in fact, the happier ones are the ones that I find the most sort of moving. Because I even think now when someone dies, I think how sad it is for the family and all that, but I always think how amazing that they now know there's one huge mystery in our lives that nobody can understand or predict, is what happens after you close your eyes for the final time. All we're left with really is what we as onlookers feel, which is a huge range of emotions. I felt relieved when my dad died. I felt incredibly sad, but I was so happy for him as well. I remember in the moment he actually died, me and my sisters were holding his body and I held his head. And I felt, as he died, I felt complete joy. I'd never thought that I could feel that way, but I felt like the room suddenly felt like it was sparkling, like the air was sparkling, and that there was such joy and relief in the room. I just thought, whoa, that's something I want to sing about. And then I thought, that's something I want to record onto an album. This is probably my most personal, probably will be ever my most personal album. So yeah, there are songs on there that really, really mean a lot to me and will probably mean a lot to other people. I know that Purcell Evening Hymn is one of the ones that people love, and I absolutely adore that song, and so does Joe. Schumann Requiem, one of the songs I started singing quite early on in my singing career. My leader teacher at the Royal Academy of Music, Richard Stokes, just told me one day, "You must sing this song. It's one of the best songs ever written." And then I looked it up, and it was like, and as I've grown in the last 10 years as an artist, I've always sung that song if I can. And now it feels like it's got a really, it's got its own place now on this disc, and I'm really happy to have finally recorded it.